director, and we have a fabulous, very different artist talk for you today. Normally, we are here bringing you visual artists, but today we're going to talk with a gentleman whose work has been in the performing arts. Our guest today is Charlie Blum. Good afternoon, Charlie.
Good afternoon, Hyla. It's great to be here with you.
Well, we're so glad that you could join us. Charlie is going to be coming to the Art Center to do an on-site presentation. When is that date? When are you going to be doing your presentation?
October 21 at 5:30 p.m. at the center. And we're calling this one, There's No Business Like Show Business. That is the title. And it'll be a fun-filled evening, stories, and just about the industry. You know, I've noted that so many times people will come to me and say, how do you get into business? What is it like? How has it changed? And all of those things can be addressed, as well as some funny stories and inside gossip that you take home with you.
Now, Charlie, this particular artist talk, because our viewers should know you're going to be doing two, because you have experience both as a professional concert and music promoter, but you also have worked with live theater and as a producer of live theater.
Yes,
is that correct? So this first one is going to be geared more towards people who might be interested in music, correct?
That is correct.
Excellent.
Fun evening, and nothing's off the table. Anything they want to ask or talk about regarding any artist, and just had a wonderful career, and I'm very excited about it, and still continues. I said I semi-retired, and I would do things that were fun and with friends. So that's what I've been doing, and I intend to continue doing.
Well, Charlie, a quick question. I know when people come to see, so I don't want to spoil it for those who are going to be having the pleasure and the privilege of hearing you talk in person. But you've been in this business, I mean, you look very young, but I know you've been in this business quite a while. How did you first get started working in the arts, in the performing arts?
I actually started, I was in college at American University at political science and government. I was going to run for president. I wish I had taken that up. Anyway, but instead I had a summer job at a theater called Shady Grove Music Theater. And they played acts like Barry Manilow and Liberace and Frankie Valli, Bette Midler, Sonny and Cher. I could go on and on. But I wanted to be involved, but it was a great summer job as an usher. So I went out there and applied, and so we don't need an usher, but we have an opening for an assistant to the press agent. I said, what do you do? And they said, well, can you write a press release? I write a press release? Of course I can write a press release. I didn't know what a press release was. So I run to the library, yes, there were things called libraries, and I looked up press release, and I just learned. And I went home that night, and I wrote something about the show was Grease, I remember. And it went Grease. Broadway's longest running show will be appearing at the Shady Grove Music Theater on this date and so forth. And I got the job. And those were the days. Stop me if I go on, because I get excited about that.
No, keep going.
Those were the days when an artist would play for a whole week, as opposed to now when you see an act, it's a one-night show if you're going to Elton John or wherever it may be. But back then, an act would come in on a Tuesday, the show would start on Tuesday. They might come in 3 or 4 days earlier and do PR. That was my job. So I would take the artist around town, radio stations, TV stations, and spend the time with them to promote the show that was running that week. And it truly was a blast. It still is to this day, but those were the days where you really got to spend time with the performer. We had like the Jacksons would come in, and you'd set up activities for them for Michael doing basketball, and then he wanted to go visit a hospital, and he wanted to go to the White House. And all these things you would get to do that would gather or gain publicity for it to help sell the show. And that's how I started and moved my way up to general manager of the theater. Actually, I was 21 at the time. And from there, just continued to climb up the ladder for show business, and still involved to this day.
Of all of the people, and you've worked with a lot of people, and trust me, that's why you want to come to hear this presentation, because Charlie has worked with everybody and anybody that you can imagine within this business and has fabulous stories to tell. Of the people you've worked with, let's stick with music for right now, who have been some of your favorites?
Wow, that is interesting, because I'll name a few names now, and then in an hour I'll think, wait a minute, what about this one or that one? The other thing that's interesting about our business, before I actually address your question, is that some of them, I'll say, oh, this was great because it was a great business opportunity, as opposed to this was a wonderful person, and the show may not have done business. But as I recall over the years, there really are so many. I mean, I've had a long-term run with Frankie Valli, who I was also a personal fan of, but there were shows with Anita Baker or a Kenny Loggins show, Kevin Cronin and REO Speedwagon, great guy. REO Speedwagon, excuse me, Oak Ridge Boys, I played for over 30 years and got to know them well. So Jay Leno, another great individual we worked with. There's just so many. The majority are wonderful. And when I do the talk, come here, everybody, on October 21st. Don't forget. I'll give you some scoop on some of those that were not fun to work with.
Now, Charlie, because there's a difference here, because you came most recently from Chicago before you came to Marco.
Yes.
And there are some venues that are producing houses, theaters that produce theater, or put that forward on their own. And then there are presenting houses that might book a music act to come in for a period of time, or might book a touring company. And there may be ones that are kind of a mix. If you think of artists, they're producing their symphony music, but they're presenting their Broadway series.
That's correct.
So
I've been fortunate to be able to do both. In particular, this theater outside of Chicago was more in a presenting situation, and we would often produce, in fact, even in the summer, which is typically light because people want to be outdoors. So how do you keep the building programmed? And as a personal thing for me, I always enjoyed doing community theater when I was a kid, and I thought it would be a great outreach program for the community to bring people in that never would have had some of the chances that I had as a kid. So not that we did all kid shows like Annie and Joseph and so forth, but we did older shows as well, like Chicago, and we would produce that locally. At the same time, there were other shows that we took out on the road that we would produce to put together to travel the country. So it was exciting. This is a lot of fun. And in our business, this is a great one. I was almost going to save this for October, but they said, well, how do you get into show business? Or how do you get into your business, Charlie? And there was an old saying that I'll never forget. Someone said, you take $10,000, you go down to the end of your driveway, and you put it in cash in the mailbox. Then you pull out a match, and you set the $10,000 on fire. You go back into your house, and you go to sleep. If you can go to sleep and not think about the $10,000 that you just lost, you, my friend, are in show business.
Well, and of course, that's because producing, especially in commercial theater this day and age, which is very, well, actually now we look at New York's commercial theater scene and we look at Broadway, and it's very quiet and it's very sad. But commercial theater is a big business. There's also non-for-profit professional theaters, and of course, as you mentioned, community theaters, of which we have several really outstanding ones. We have two great ones here on Marco Island, Marco. And then, of course, in Naples, Naples Players probably is one of the finest community theaters I've ever seen. And as you know, what a lot of our people may not know is that I worked in non-for-profit professional theater for most of my career. So Charlie and I have that in common. But Charlie, you also perform, don't you?
Oh no. I do. So Frank Sinatra, I've always been a fan for years. And I started doing the music, and then many years ago, I happened to meet, he was playing, short story long, I had Steve and Edie booked at Star Plaza, and the Steve Lawrence and Igor May. Prior to their performance, 48 hours before, Frank Sinatra passed away. So Steve and Edie said, we can't make it, we're going to the funeral. Okay, I get it. We canceled the show, but I had one major problem. We were a union house of musicians, and there had to be a 7-day cancellation clause in their contract. So I couldn't cancel. I had to play the orchestra. But what are we going to do? How about a tribute to Frank? So I knew the guy who was the conductor, who coincidentally was Sinatra's conductor in the Midwest. So a 17-piece big band, and I sang. And at that point on, I was hooked. So I started doing big band shows like around the city. And enjoyed it doing Frank. And as you probably know, I played here on the island almost on a weekly basis. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed doing it. That classic music, well, it'll never go away.
No, Great American Songbook is very popular around here. You know that we do a music series on site, but for people who are interested in supporting the Marco Island Center for the Arts, Charlie is going to be the entertainment at our up-and-coming gala in January, which is Fly Me to the Moon and Let Me Play Amongst the Arts.
Let me swing among the stars. Let you see when they come in January.
As I said, it's going to be a great event. We are still planning to do it on site, but out in the open air, in our parking lot, under a tent, taking every precaution because your health, well-being, and safety is of the utmost importance to us here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts. Now, Charlie, I've got one more question because I want to say there's so much that we can talk about. Who or what has been the greatest influence on your career?
Ooh. Interesting. Prior to the theater up north, which was about 30 years, one of my fondest memories, and really where I got, say, my education in the business, my mentor was a gentleman named Wayne Niederlander. And the last name will probably be renowned to you and others. It's the Niederlander organization that ran, it was all the theaters in New York, let alone around the country, the Broadway series in Chicago, everywhere. And I rose to be vice president of their division, the concert division, many years back. And Wayne was my boss, and he taught me a lot, and I remember so many things, but one in particular that he used to say, Charlie, if you book your personal taste, you'll go broke. And that has stuck with me to this day, because I'll get people that will call and say, oh, you want to play this act or that act, but they have no understanding of the business side of it, which we'll talk about, on October 21st at the center. And that was critical to me, among many other things that I learned. So I'd say that he had the biggest influence. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years back, and I think about him to this day because, what would Wayne do? I often ask that question because he was obviously a guru in the concert industry, and I learned so much from him, which helped me to get to where I am today.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much. Now, remind me again, what's the date when you're going to be here?
I believe it's October 21st at 5:30 p.m. at the Marco Center for the Arts.
Excellent.
And I'm looking forward to it.
We do have, there's free of charge, but you do have to make a reservation. So if you're interested in attending, please give us a call at 239-394-4221 and make your reservations today. Well, Charlie, it was just a treat to have you on. I think you and I may find some ways to do some more broadcasting together. I know that we have been talking, noodling a few ideas around. So I suspect to our friends out there that you'll be seeing Charlie again. Right now, I want to let you know that tonight at the Marco Island Center for the Arts and moving forward, we have a brand new exhibition. It is called Here and There. It is the work of 5 Cuban-born artists. It is compelling. It is dynamic. It's something that you shouldn't miss. So as you have occasion, please come down and visit us at the Marco Island Center for the Arts to check out this exhibition, as well as our La Petite artist, whose name is Olga. I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing it. Olga, please, I apologize. Check. Gorgeous, vibrant meadows with texture and color. So our galleries are full. They are beautiful. We look forward to seeing you. And if you enjoy seeing us here, whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, we hope that you might go to our YouTube page and take a moment, if you like this video, to maybe share it, and of course, please hit that subscribe button because we want to connect with you. And if you want to keep up with us, well, hit that little bell so that you can get notified about all the content that we're producing these days. I've got to go get ready to welcome some artists. So, Charlie, I'm going to say goodnight to you now.
Love working with you.
Absolutely, and we will be seeing you here. To all of my friends, have a wonderful evening, and please remember that Marco Island Center for the Arts is and will always be your art home. Good night, everybody.